Hello everybody, it's Mimberly and welcome back to the third part of The Girl Who Fed the Wolf, which is the Caleb dating sim by Kawi. Now, I have located a walkthrough on how to get these other goddamn endings. So I have them here on my second screen, ready to go. And with that note, we're on our first choice. Now, I was right on my second go saying because he should have stayed with her. We're still going to read it through as normal, but we're going to get the new, ending, so. But he was dangerous. Doesn't matter. She'd accept him, even if no one else would. If you guys haven't watched the first episode where I read through the whole thing, then go watch that one. Caleb opens and closes his mouth like he wants to say something more. Then he goes quiet, his foul furrowing as he focuses again. Also, yes, my fan is on, so I'm sorry if you hear it. The girl kept going. She wandered for days, maybe weeks. Time bent oddly in the forest. She would walk and walk, only to end up where she began. She grew frustrated, angry. She shouted at the sky, kicked over a moss-covered stone, and wept when it didn't fix anything. Eventually, she went home, but she never stopped looking for him. Then one day, while wandering a part of the forest that felt almost unfamiliar, she found a new path. It was narrow, hidden. It hadn't been there before. She followed it, heart beating faster with every step, until it brought her to a clearing she'd never seen. At its center, half hidden by ivy and shadow, was a den. A figure stood just inside the mouth of it. A man, dangerous, feral, but familiar in the same way that dreams are. His clothes were different, his hair wild, his eyes still his. She called out to him. He flinched, stumbling back into the shadows. Something twisted in her gut at the sight. She remembered the way he used to eat, always hungry, always hollow. Gently, she reached into her satchel and pulled out an apple. She placed it at the edge of the den and stepped back. He waited. Then he moved, slow and cautious. He picked it up, sniffed it, then turned away. She heard the sound of his teeth sinking into flesh, juice dripping, his body trembling as he devoured it. When he turned back, his lips were shining with juice. His eyes gleamed. The girl smiled and stretched her hand towards him. Come back with me. The wolf stared at her. Then he shook his head and retreated deeper into the den. I'll come back with more food. Wait for me. Why is my webcam glitching? Hold on. Okay, guys, I think, highlight the word think, I have fixed it. So, with that note, let's carry on. There we go, just making sure everything's all loaded back up. I'll come back with more food. Wait for me. He didn't answer, but he watched her. And in his eyes, though she couldn't be sure, there might have been a flicker of pain. And then he turned and disappeared into the dark. I didn't know you liked such gloomy stories, Caleb. He raises an eyebrow, snapping the book shut with exaggerated drama. Fine, good luck with the thunder. You gasp, clutching your pillow like a betrayed princess. No, I want to know how it ends. Should have thought about that before you insulted my literary taste. You narrow your eyes. Literary taste? You once called The Monster Under My Bed Asked Me Out a masterpiece. It is a masterpiece. You just have no appreciation for cult classics. You dog-eared every single page with a kiss scene. And I stand by it. He leans back, smug, arms crossed like he's just delivered the closing argument in a trial. You toss a pillow at him. He doesn't dodge. Be a good girl and I'll continue. You freeze mid-eye roll. I'm not a kid anymore. He's still staring. Not smug now, just steady. Like he's searching for something in your face. You make a sound halfway between a groan and a sigh, burying your face in the pillow again. Ugh, just keep going. The next day, the girl returned to the forest. She carried more food in her bag, enough to feed two. The trees watched her as she passed, silent but not still. Leaves rustled without wind. Roots seemed to shift when she wasn't looking. And then she felt it then, something unseen, watching her from the shadows. But when she reached the den, the wolf was already there, waiting. He stood at the entrance, eyes glowing faintly beneath the low-hanging branches. His posture was weary, but not hostile. Still, the girl didn't know what he was afraid of. She set the food down in front of him. He ate everything like he hadn't tasted warmth in years. Quick and messy, until there was nothing left. But when he finished, he was still watching her, still hungry. Is it not enough? The wolf spoke for the first time. The food helps, but not the right way. The girl paused and thought carefully. Then she made a choice. Now, according to this walkthrough, to get the next ending, I need to offer her touch. And that's the same for both. So these two choices will be the same. So what we'll do is we'll skip that until the next bit. She stepped closer with careful steps and raised a hand to his face. His eyes shuttered shut as her fingers brushed his fur. He didn't flinch, just leaned into her touch like it grounded him. Then he lay down, cautious but calm, resting his head in her lap. She ran her fingers through his tangled hair, soothing down the edges of his ears. His body relaxed, but something in him still held back. Poor thing, he probably hadn't been touched in years. It's a good thing he's relaxing. There's a pause. Caleb turns a page. He still didn't let go, though. He doesn't trust her? Maybe he knows once he's Maybe he knows once he lets go, he won't stop. The sun rose and fell again and again, and the girl kept walking the path. No matter what she gave, the wolf seemed fuller. But each time she turned to leave, she heard it. The low, hollow growl of hunger. Not loud or desperate. Just there. Like something he no longer tried to hide. She wondered if she was the only one feeding him. The thought of someone else bringing him food, placing offerings at the edge of his den, slipping into the silence, she thought was theirs. It sent something sharp and hot sliding beneath her ribs. No one else should do it. They didn't know him like she did. They didn't love him like she did. The next time she entered the forest, she looked for signs, other footprints, other scents. But all she found were the delicate tracks of rabbits half faded in the moss. Did the wolf eat bunnies? Was that how he fed when she wasn't there? The idea settled strangely in her chest. She didn't want him to be fed by anything else. The wolf's hunger was hers to soothe. No one else should. Not even prey. That day, when she turned to go, she left something behind. Now, on this option, to get either the wolf or the apple ending, because there's two different endings and they've symbolized it with either an apple or a wolf. Again, this choice does not matter if you're going for either of those endings, being 2 or 3, so you have to leave a ribbon of hers. She untied the broom from her hair and placed it gently on a nearby stone. Something small, something hers, so he could remember her. A ribbon, huh? It's just something nice. Or cruel. You look at him, one eyebrow raised. Cruel? Giving him something he can't forget when she still leaves every time? You go quiet. He doesn't elaborate. The wolf took what she left behind. He cradled it in his hands and held it close to his chest, where the beating of his heart was loudest. When the hunger rose like a tide, curling sharp and endless in his belly, he gripped it tighter. It soothed him. A little. Enough to breathe through the worst of it. Enough to remember the girl's voice, her footsteps on the path, the way her eyes softened when she looked at him like he was still his old self. But hunger does not fade when fed memories. It only waits, and it was getting worse, stronger. It wanted more. One day, the girl walked into the village to buy food for the wolf. The market was busy with late morning chatter, the scent of yeast and roasted nuts curling in the air. The baker smiled at her, too easily. His voice was low, warm, the kind that invited her to lean closer. Imagine if the baker was fucking Charlie from the Xavier memory. When he handed her a fresh loaf, the crust still hot from the oven, his flour-dusted fingers lingered just a second too long. He told her she ought to be careful, venturing so close to the woods. She laughed, a soft, breathless thing. And then she felt it, that slow, creeping pressure against her back. Not a touch, not a sound. But something else. Like a thought slipping into her mind that didn't belong there. Like the forest itself had opened an eye. She knew the sensation. It had found her before, on quiet nights, in places where the air grew too still, the hush too deep, as though the world was waiting for her to notice. She never had, until now. She turned, the loaf warm in her hands. At the edge of the trees, just beyond the last crooked fence post, a pair of familiar glowing eyes stared back. They were watching her openly. They had always been watching her. And this time, she saw them. Now, I'm going for the apple ending on this one, and this one is not showing anything. So, for the apple ending, I'm just going to go frown, because that's got a blank. Or actually, wait. I'm going to go smile, because if I don't get the apple ending, I can at least go for the wolf ending. She smiled towards the trees. How kind of him, she thought, to always be watching. The eyes did not blink. They followed her as she moved through the market, glowing faintly beneath the green-tinged shadow of the canopy. Others noticed. A gasp, a shriek, a ripple of fear through the crowd. And then, just like that, the eyes were gone. Swallowed by the forest's edge, as if they had never been there at all. The girl didn't understand the fuss. To her, it was nothing to fear. That's kind of sweet, actually. Caleb gives you a look over the edge of the book. Half teasing, half unreadable. Sweet isn't the word I'd use. Obsessive, maybe. Love always looks obsessive from the outside. His eyes meet yours, a flicker of surprise, quickly buried beneath something quieter, thoughtful, a little too still. Then he hums, more to himself than you, and looks back down at the page. I guess. Later, the girl followed the path through the forest again. The trees whispered louder this time, their leaves rustling secrets she couldn't quite hear. Birds scattered without cause, startled by something she could not see. Something or someone was near. She heard footsteps, too light to belong to the wolf, too heavy to be her own. They didn't follow from behind or lead from ahead, but moved beside her, as if they believed they had the right to walk the path with her, as if they thought they could belong there. And then, somewhere between breath and heartbeat, the footsteps vanished. The girl was alone when she reached the wolf's den. The forest exhaled softly around her. Everything was as it should be. Oh, my webcam is still glitching. This is annoying me. I don't know why. Please don't tell me my webcam is on its way out, because I can't. The girl called, but the wolf didn't answer. And so, with the breath still warm in her hands and something cold gathering at the base of her spine, the girl stepped inside the den for the first time. The air was close and heavy, thick with the scent of damp earth and ash. She moved slowly, careful not to disturb the stillness, her gaze sweeping across the interior until it landed on the scattered bones along the floor, clean, brittle, stripped of everything but silence. Something burned in her chest, a quiet spark of rage or sorrow, she wasn't sure which. She walked forward and her boot came down hard on the bones, grinding them to dust beneath her heel. Her attention shifted to something half hidden in the dark. A chest, lid slightly ajar. She knelt and peered inside. Behind her, a voice growled, "You shouldn't be here." The wolf stood at the mouth of the den, his shoulders braced against the frame like he was holding something back. His chest rose and fell too fast, his breath too shallow. His eyes were darker than she'd ever seen them. But she didn't back away. "I don't mind the dark. I want to understand." Her words didn't soothe him. He knew what she would see if she stayed. Knew that if she looked too closely, she'd understand what kind of hunger lived inside him. And once she knew, she wouldn't come back. Maybe that was for the best. Go, and never come back. The wolf said harsher than he meant it. The girl didn't answer. She turned and ran, the chill still pressing into her spine like a warning. The next day passed without her, and the wolf waited, howled once into the dark, into the ache that no meal could quiet. He thought she had listened, that she had left him behind. But then, just as the sun began to fall behind the trees, she returned. Late. She didn't bring much, barely enough to fill the corner of a basket, but he took what she offered. He ate with desperation, and when she reached for something else, he licked the crumbs from her fingers. She came late again the next day, later the day after that, and each time she brought less. As if she liked what she saw, the way his hands trembled, the way his breath caught when she stepped into the clearing, like she might not have come at all. As if she enjoyed seeing the hunger bloom in his eyes, a hunger only she could soothe. One day, when the girl opened her basket at home, she found something resting inside that she hadn't placed there. A fang, long and white, sharp at the tip. A peace offering, perhaps. Or a warning. Or both. Now, obviously, if you want to get option 1, you put it near her bed. If you want to get endings 2 or 3, according to this walkthrough, which is from the official developer, by the way, you make it into a necklace. She threaded it through a silver chain and wore it close to her chest, so she could carry him with her. I'm really beginning to think I'm starting to get towards wolf ending, you know. It's kind of romantic in a creepy way. Caleb raises his brows. He's smiling faintly. Creepy romantic is your favorite genre. And yours is doomed monster love, clearly. Touché. One day, the girl noticed something missing. A scarf. A soft linen blouse she hadn't worn in weeks. She thought maybe she misplaced them until another item vanished. Something she'd worn just days before. And then she knew something was not right. That day, she brought food to the den again, but the wolf was not there. She waited, listening to the hush that had settled over the clearing. The wind had shifted. The trees, usually full of rustling whispers, held their breath. The forest felt stiller than usual, as if it too was waiting. Curious, cautious, she stepped deeper into the den, her footsteps soft against the packed earth, until she stood before the old chest tucked in the corner. She opened the lid. Inside, her clothes, neatly folded. What did the wolf need them for? She reached for them. Behind her, a growl rumbled. She turned. The wolf stood in the entrance, shadow wrapped around his shoulders like a second skin. Why do you have my clothes? Are you cold? His eyes gleamed in the dark, dim light. He said nothing. Okay, again, it's not really giving me many, like, individual apple and wolf options. So, I'm gonna pick the apple and the wolf option, which is, I could warm you. Oh, I pressed the wrong button. Shit, be right back. Okay, let's not click on do you want more clothes. I could warm you up instead. There you go. Caleb's eyes snapped to you. The book shuts with a quiet thud. He clears his throat and then opens it again, like nothing happened. Wow, okay, bold choice. He flips to the next page a little too fast. The wolf didn't move, but his gaze darkened. He shook his head. You should leave. Okay, so I'm just going to explain what I can see on my screen. So it's just a white screen. It says choice 7. What if I don't want you to leave? It's just the wolf sign, but there's nothing next to why don't you trust me. So I'm going to go on, what if I don't want you to leave? Oh God. Caleb looks up slowly. His expression shifts. Something flickers behind his eyes. You hold his gaze. He clears his throat quietly. Dangerous thing to say to a wolf. Well, she means it. Yeah, that's the dangerous part. Please do not give me the same ending. Go. His voice held no growl this time, only wait. A final word shaped like a closing door. The girl hesitated, caught in the stillness between one breath and the next. And she turned, and the forest, quiet and watchful, swallowed her footsteps like a secret. The seasons turned. The wind grew sharp, and frost crept along the edges of windows like silver vines. Leaves fell and still, the wolf's hunger did not. In the village, food grew scarce. The girl had barely had enough to eat herself. At the market, stalls once rich with fruit and bread now stood bare. When she reached the baker's stall, she found it shuttered, the hearth cold, and the door hanging crooked on its hinges, swinging in the wind. No one had seen him in a long time. That perhaps he had followed something he shouldn't have. That the woods were watching again. The girl said nothing. She just kept searching for food, anything that she could carry, even just enough for a mouthful. She didn't want the wolf to feed on something else. On anyone else. It was then the village sage stopped her. An old woman, hutched and draped in scrolls of frayed silk and feathers, her voice like dried leaves. She told the girl that today was not like other days. That was the turning of the longest night, when the forest shifted in its sleep, when the gates between worlds closed like teeth. Anyone who entered after twilight might not return. The forest lights to keep what crossed its threshold. The girl looked up at the sky. The sun had begun its slow descent behind trees, staining the clouds in golden ash. Shadows stretched longer with each passing breath. And she had no food in her hands. Oh, this bit, that was different. Okay. Caleb looks at you, the book resting open in his hands. His gaze is steady, waiting. The story is nearly over. The choices have been made. And now all that's left is the ending. You don't look away when you speak. The girl walked to the forest anyway. She stepped into the den with no food, just her throat, her wrists, her skin. Oh god. Oh no. Okay. Akela's breath catches, just slightly. His fingers curl against the pages. The wolf warned her, be careful. I'm not your brother anymore. The space between you has changed. Subtle, but charged. He isn't reading anymore. He's remembering. Or inventing. Or both. You tilt your head just enough to let the words settle between you. She whispered, you never were you? The book slips from his lap. He doesn't reach for it. Okay. The wolf said he would bite. He said he would ruin her. He leans closer. You can feel his warmth, the brush of his breath across your cheek, the press of the silence between you, thick as velvet. Okay, right, I'm just gonna give the quick disclaimer now. Okay? That if, and this is this is a big if what I think is coming up, that is gonna have to go on Patreon because YouTube will definitely not allow it. So if I have to randomly cut the video, there will be a link to Patreon in the description for you to go over to the NSFW scene. Because if any of you remember the Silas one, yeah. She said, please do. Oh god. Oh Christ. She stepped into the den like it was a church, and she was the only offering that would ever be enough. Outside, the forest was still, frozen beneath the solace moon, breathless beneath its own watching weight. The trees bowed low, heavy with snow and silence, as if they knew what this night meant, as if they too were waiting for something sacred to be broken. The wolf did not speak. He watched her from the shadows, the firelight painting gold across his skin, across the wild in his eyes. His hand trembled where they rested at his sides, not from fear, but from holding back something too large for words. He asked her once, voice low and torn from somewhere deeper than his throat, "Are you sure?" Christ me. Let me be the only thing that ever touches your hunger. Oh, okay. So he took her. Yep. Okay, I think I can get away with this bit, but if it gets any further, then we are gonna have to move to Patreon. He brought her to his bed, a nest of fur and shadow and scent. She reached for him as if she'd known his shape in dreams, as if her hands had always meant to fit his skin. Oh, dear me, I'm just appreciating the view. He hovered above her like a storm caught on the edge of breaking. Then he broke. His mouth found her neck, her collarbone, her breast. He tore the softness from her clothes, and the silence was from her lips. And when he filled her, it was not with apology, but with need honed sharp by longing. Oh my god. Ah! The hunger you stirred, you were always meant to feed it. And I will. If you ever forget how I taste, I'll carve it into your tongue. And the forest never let her leave again. But she never tried to. Some say the wolf keeps her in a den lined with her dresses. That he braids her hair and sings her lullabies. Some say she feeds him still, with kisses now, with moans, with sighs. But most say she knew what he was, and loved him anyway. Ending 3 of 3. Let's go! Woo! I got laid! Oh my god. Whew, right, okay, Right, so that NSF scene is gonna have to go fully on Patreon, so go check it out in the link in the description. Now, my curiosity is if I go back and pick the other option, will I get 3 of 3? Like, what's ending 2 of 3? Let's see if I can find out. Okay, right, we're back at this choice now. So I said, what if I don't want you to leave last time? That led to the wolf ending, so I'm curious. What will happen if I say, why don't you trust me? Ah! I forgot to take it off fast! Okay, right. Caleb looks at you, the book resting open in his hands. His gaze is steady, waiting. The story is nearly over, the choices have been made, and now all that's left is the ending. You don't look away when you speak. The girl walked to the forest anyway. She walked into the den with no food, just her throat, her wrists, her skin. The wolf warned her, be careful. I'm not your brother anymore. The space between you has changed, subtle but charged. He isn't reading anymore, he's remembering. Or inventing. Or both. You tilt your head just enough to let the words settle between you. She whispered, you never were. Were you? The book slips from his lap. He doesn't reach for it. The wolf said he would bite. He said he would ruin her. He leans closer, and you can feel his warmth, the brush of his breath across your cheek, the press of silence between you thick as velvet. He said, please do. I'd better not have just gotten the same ending, because I'm not sure I can sit through that again, because that was intense. She stepped into the den like it was a place she wasn't meant to enter. There you go. Right, this is different. Not because it frightened her, but because it didn't. Because it called to something inside her that had waited just as long as he had. Outside, the solacent wind curled through the trees, heavy with frost, thick with change. The forest was quiet in that way that only came once a year, when the earth turned and the world held still, waiting for something to begin. The wolf watched her from the firelight. He didn't move. Not when she untied her cloak. Not when she let her dress fall from her shoulders and pull around her feet. Not even when she stepped closer, naked but unafraid, her eyes locked onto his. His breath hitched. His jaw clenched like he was holding something back, a howl maybe, or her name. His voice was gravel when he finally spoke. Are you sure? I would rather be ruined than untouched. That was all it took. He closed the space between them in a heartbeat, years of restraint breaking like a dam. His hands were rough when they found her waist, her spine, her throat. Not violent, but starved. Oh. Okay, I think we know where this is going. He lifted her without effort, without question, and carried her to the bed like he had dreamed of doing every night he'd spend alone. Oh, this video is going to be a pain to edit. The furs beneath her were warm, tangled, scented with his skin. He hovered above her for a moment, shaking, not from fear, but from reverence sharpened by need. And when he finally kissed her, it was with no patience, no pretense, just hunger and need. His mouth found her neck, her collarbone, the curve of her breast. He bit, but didn't break skin. He sucked until he left a mark. She arced beneath him, a gasp caught in her throat, his fingers already buried in his hair. Later, she dressed in silence, not with shame, not with regret, but with the calm of someone who had made a vow without needing words. She left the forest at dawn, as she always did, but the forest let her go, not because it had to, but because it knew she would return. And she did. Every time. And the wolf learned how to wait without starving. Okay, got it. So we basically turned into a breeding slave. Oh my god. Okay. Right, well let me go collect my thoughts and then I'll be right back. Okay, right, excuse my webcam shaking, that's because my PC is on my desk and those fans be working overtime. 2 NSFW endings. I said I wanted more spice on the channel, well, I got my wish. Oh my god. Right, okay, I'm gonna be honest, not as much as I enjoyed the Silas one, but I think that's because obviously it was my first experience with the Silas one. From this creator, and the NSFW just smacked me across the face, and plus we all know I'm a Silas girly, but Caleb is also up there, so that got me very flustered. Again, I reiterate, both of these endings will be posted on Patreon, so that way you guys can go check them out. Obviously, if you're under 18, please don't click on it, because I trust you all to be able to know what you're allowed to watch and what you're not allowed to watch. Don't watch 18 plus kids, that's not what we do. But yeah, I really genuinely enjoyed that. Definitely a much shorter series in comparison, but I'm not gonna lie, I have no problem with a few shorter series every now and then. So, I'm gonna keep an eye out and see if there's anything else on her that we could potentially cover. I think she's got a Boot Hill one as well somewhere. But yeah, I'll keep an eye out, see if there's anything else that we can potentially cover. If you guys have got any ideas, please let me know. And I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did playing it. So, take care, guys. Bye!